You don't need another tactic. You don't need another 3-step framework from somebody who's never run a real business. And you definitely don't need to work more hours. What you need is a way to get leverage. Because here's what's probably true. You already know the basics. You already know how to run your business. You know how to generate leads, close sales, communicate your offer, deliver your service, manage operations, support your customers, handle the messy parts, and do all that and still keep the lights on. You've already proven that you're competent. So if you're still not getting the kind of growth you want, it's not because you're clueless. It's because you're capped. And the scariest part about a cap, from the inside, the cap starts to feel normal. It starts to feel like, this is just how it is. You tell yourself things like, maybe the industry is just slow. Maybe this is the best I can do right now. Or maybe we just have to grind our way through it. Because if you're being honest, like really honest, you can feel it and it's not happening fast enough. Or it's taking too much effort. Look at these things. Your calendar is jammed. Your margins aren't where you think they should be. Your pipeline is inconsistent. And you're probably personally carrying way too much. And even when your revenue is decent, it's not translating into the freedom you thought you were buying when you began this. That's the moment I want to talk about. Not the new entrepreneur moment, the I built something real and now it's not growing moment. Because this is where a lot of smart, capable owner CEOs get trapped. They keep doing what worked before. They keep pushing on the same levers. They keep trying to solve a next level problem with previous level tools. And then they wonder why the machine won't run faster. So let me ask you a blunt question. Are you at your performance ceiling? Is this how it's going to be from now on? Because if the answer is no, then good, because that is where coaching comes in. Not motivational coaching, not pep talk coaching, not I read a book and now I'm a guru coaching. I mean, the kind of coaching that functions like a force multiplier, the kind that makes growth simpler, not because business is easy, but because your bottleneck becomes visible. And once the bottleneck is visible, it becomes something we can address. Here's the part most people don't understand. Your business is not stuck because you're short on information. It's stuck because you lack a clean mirror. Every owner CEO has blind spots, not because they're dumb. CEOs aren't typically dumb. It's because they're inside of the system. You cannot read the label of a jar from inside the jar. And blind spots aren't just little mistakes. Blind spots are usually expensive. Blind spots keep the wrong offer alive too long. Blind spots keep bad pricing in place. And blind spots create team drag. Blind spots make you tolerate pretty good leads instead of engineering a pipeline that can print money. Blind spots make you chase growth when what you actually need is more profit. And here's the kicker. Most of your blind spots feel to you like common sense. They feel like that's the way we do it here. They feel like that's just the way the market is. They feel like that's just my personality. A great coach hears that and immediately knows where to look, because after working with enough businesses, patterns become obvious. Not generic advice patterns, operational patterns, profit patterns, positioning patterns, sales pattern failures, delivery pattern failures, founder pattern failures. The same handful of constraints show up again and again. Just they show up in different costumes. And once you know what you're looking for, growth stops being mysterious. It becomes a simple engineering problem. Now, let me make this concrete for you. A great coach does 5 things at a very high level. First, they compress time. Now, you could spend the next 12 months figuring out what to do, or you could spend the next 12 weeks doing what actually works. Second, they create strategic clarity. Most stuck businesses aren't stuck because they need more ideas. They're stuck because they have too many ideas. A coach helps you cut through the noise, make hard choices, and stop leaking energy. Third, They identify the true constraint, not the symptom, not we need more leads, not we need better marketing, the true actual constraint. Sometimes it's pricing, sometimes it's positioning, or maybe it's your sales process. Sometimes it's your offer structure, and sometimes it's the founder being the bottleneck. Sometimes it's that you built a business that requires you to personally be everywhere. Fourth, great coaches install a cadence, because insight without execution, that's just entertainment. A coach helps you convert strategy into weekly actions that compound. Fifth, great coaches hold the line for you. When it gets emotionally uncomfortable, which it will, when you have to stop doing what you think you're good at and start doing what actually moves the business forward, coach keeps you from drifting back into familiar patterns. So yes, coaching is strategy, and it's also behavior change, and it's also identity level leadership, because the version of you that built the current business is not always the version of you that can scale it cleanly. Now I'll tell you where it gets real. I've been coaching entrepreneurs since 1996. And over the years, my clients have added more than $500 million to their net income and proceeds from exits from their companies. And when you apply typical market multiples, which vary by industry, you're often talking about several times that in enterprise value created. And that 500 million, it's the equivalent of several billion in additional sales. I'm bringing this up for one reason, so you understand the standard. This isn't theoretical for me. I'm not guessing. I'm not experimenting on you. I understand the patterns that create profit, and I've seen the patterns that destroy it. Quietly, slowly, in ways the owner doesn't notice until it's painful and far too late. Now here's the part that tends to get people's attention. When I take on a client, I want the economics to be undeniable. I want you to look back and say, that investment was a rounding error compared to the money it unlocked. As a working target, I aim for a 10x return on your coaching investment. Not as a legal guarantee and not as a fantasy, but as a practical performance standard. Because removing a constraint in a functioning business is one of the highest ROI activities available on earth. If you're doing, say, $1 million to $10 million a year, a single structural improvement can be worth more than a decade of tiny optimization tactics. So I'll say this plainly. If you're the right kind of client, and we do this properly, you should not be wondering whether coaching is worth it. You should be wondering why you waited so long. And to keep this grounded, here's how I approach it. We define the objective in measurable terms. We identify the constraint. We set a cadence, and we agree on checkpoints where we review what's working and what's not. If we hit a checkpoint and there's no measurable momentum, we don't hand wave it away. We adjust, we simplify, and we re-aim. And if it turns out I'm not the right coach for your problem, I'll tell you directly, because the point is results, not a long engagement. Now let's be mature about this. This isn't you do nothing and I wave a wand. It requires you to show up, do the work, tell the truth, and keep executing. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they lose coherence. They drift. They get distracted. They revert to comfort zone habits. A coach is there to keep you coherent long enough for the results to land. Now, my approach, it's not for everyone. And if you're not coachable, don't do this. If you always need to be the smartest person in the room, don't do this. If you want to argue with reality instead of working with it, don't do this. And I'm also not a fit for certain industries and models, like insurance sales, security sales, real estate agency, or law practices. But for almost everyone else, if you're running a real business and you want real profit growth, this works. So here's the question. Are you interested? Not interested like in entertainment. Interested like you're done being capped. Interested like you want the next level to be cleaner, simpler, and more profitable. Interested like You want your business to produce more freedom, not consume more life. If that's you, reach out to me. Let's have a short conversation, see if we're a fit. We'll look at what's going on, where you're stuck, and what the real constraint is. And if it's something I can help you with, I'll tell you. If it's not, I'll tell you that too. Either way, you'll leave the conversation clearer than you are right now. If you want to start, go to my website. That's lemberg.com, or email me directly to p@lemberg.com. And one more thing. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, leave a comment. I'll DM you a link to my scheduling calendar, and we'll talk. This conversation is on me, because the upside for you here is enormous. And the cost of staying capped, that's enormous too. Reach out to me. I'll talk to you soon.